So follow boss is a big part of your team, right? How do you and your agents maximize it or the best results, bro?
So part of being linked in with Sisu, I mean, everything that we do is how to follow a boss. And then I'd say if you're running a team, I don't know that I looked at everything. I had decision fatigue, looking at all the different softwares and options out there. But follow up boss has been, I would say, if you're just going to dabble in it, it's really probably not the software for you because you really have to go all in. But if you get in there and really get things dialed in, the system, I remember listening to a podcast that Kyle Whistle was on, and he said, we set up the systems run the company. And that's really how I feel about our team, where if they just follow the systems and the processes that we have in place, how leads come in, like our team members know that if a lead comes in, they don't respond within an hour, it gets reassigned to somebody else. They know that when they set an appointment, they create a deal card which feeds into Sisu. Batter works off of follow-up boss for the lead accountability piece. So we're able to keep really tight accountability around the brokerage and lead side. And then on their spear stuff, Batter will give them reminders, but we never sweep that. That's theirs. So
Good. So let's talk about meetings and accountability. You guys meet 3 times a week with 3 meetings a week. Why that cadence and what happens in those meetings?
yeah, that's a great question. And I had a really interesting insight this week. So what we used to do was one Tuesday meeting from 9:30 to 10:30. People would come in and everybody's happy to be there. But then outside of that 1 hour, we've got a 5,400 square foot office. I could spot check the office at any given point in the day, and there's 2 people in here. So it kind of became
Horrible feeling, isn't it?
it is because like as an agency owner, you want there to be a buzz in the office and you want people to come in. But I also understand that agents are out hopefully doing what they're doing. High producers are producing. And I really think before I had a team, it was just kind of like a hope and a prayer that agents would be doing what they're doing. And I'd sit down with them and find out, I didn't call anybody this week. So no follow-up boss. We know how many calls they make. We have lead accountability standards that you have to make 100 dials a week, which is nothing, in my opinion, or 2 money time pond shifts, come to 2 hours of training a week, and come to 2 team meetings a week. And if you don't, then you're off of leads the following week. What I really try to push with our team is that the inbound leads are the silver platter. Like somebody's going to come in, they're going to call in and say, hey, I got to list my house or I want to buy a house. That's a layup. And what we want is to drive accountability to say, hey, if you want the layups, you don't get game time unless you come to practice and put the hard work in. So the hard work is the outbound dialing and working the money time pound shifts and the leads that we already have. But the insight that I had this week was about 2 months ago, we implemented what's called a winner's circle, and we do it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 9:30. And what the winner's circle is agents come in, we talk about wins and gratitude. So it gets some really quick wins within the group. And it's fun. People are happy to talk about what they just put under contract, what they just sold. We share some challenges that, maybe everybody else should know about. But then what we do is we declare, hey, first thing we do is we check back on what they recently declared from the last winner's circle. So we said, hey, you said you were going to make 40 calls, have X amount 2-minute conversations, and set X amount of appointments. And then they have to report back how many calls they did, how many conversations they had, and how many appointments they set. And then before we leave, everybody has to declare what they're going to do for activity. So it almost becomes a little bit of a gut check when we come into the next meeting. And you have to, if you're going to declare goose eggs and say, well, I didn't do anything to move the needle forward in my business, it's probably not a really good feeling for an agent to say that. So it's some shared in group accountability. So
Good, dude. Super good. You guys excited about Zillow Flex?
I think so. I think the biggest thing is we'll be first in our market to have Zillow Flex. We're a small market, 60,000 in the proper, 100,000 in the metro. There's only 275, 300 agents in our market.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and our agency is about 55 agents. So, we have really good market share in terms of agents and sales volume. So, but we'll be the very first team in our market to become Flex. So I think it's an opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity, bro.
Yeah, and what I've heard is with Flex is if we're sitting at, I don't know, our best to Zillow scores at 99% better than other Zillow teams. So as long as we keep our metrics tight and do what we're supposed to do, it should increase our lead flow pretty substantially, that's
Yeah.
what I'm excited about.
Good. Absolutely. What other leads are you guys running right now?
I do Whitley. I think I got that from you off of one of your podcasts that I
The
heard
Facebook
from.
leads?
Yeah. We do pay-per-click with Filopo. I
Yeah.
do
How are
Clever.
those pay-per-click? How are those going?
It's one of those things that if you call a lead once, you're probably not going to convert it. And, if you call them 10, 12, 15 times over the course of, 10, 12, 15 days, half of them are going to say it was, I just clicked on something, I'm good. But if you continuously email market to them, eventually everybody's going to transact eventually. So you're building a database. And I think that's the toughest thing in this industry is that everybody wants the right now. We want to show a client one house. And if they don't write an offer, well, let's wait for the next lead because that's going to be the magic goose, the golden goose that's going to
That's
write
the
an
one
offer.
that's going to pay the bill this month.
Yeah. But really what we need to be doing, I think Nick McLean said that more than 50% of leads convert after 6 or 12 months. I can't remember what the number was.
Yeah. No, and there's lots of data behind that. With the accountability piece we were talking about, how do you do it so it doesn't feel heavy on you or like you're micromanaging on the people that you're trying to hold accountable?
Well, I think it comes back to you just set the rules. You just say, hey, these are the rules. Like when somebody joins the team, they know what the rules are. And it's been, this last year, there's been a lot of changes within the team as we're building out infrastructure. But I think just being vocal about, hey, this is what our standards are. And then you hold the line and let the standards and the rules run the team. And I don't have to be the bad guy because I say everybody on the team's held to the same standard. This is why I can't have you on leads this week. Or
Yeah.
this is why, you're off of leads until you get your conversion up.
Super easy. You guys came up with standards and you drew your fucking line in the sand. Say, here's the line, right?
Yep.
There's no black or white. You're either here or you're over here. You know what over here is, so be over there, right? Like,
Yeah,
let's
I
make it
listened.
real
I listened
simple.
when I chimed in for one of your team meetings, and I think it's very easy, to say to agents, hey, your exact words were, if you're not down to hustle on the leads, that's fine. You don't have to work the leads. If you just want to work your sphere and lean into all the other leverage and support here, you can. But you're also not going to get inbound if you don't want to work the leads. So
Yeah, real simple.
it's not a punishment. It's just, hey, this is how we're running the business. Here's the rules. If you want this, and you can choose whether or not you want to partake.